some mint tea, and then I'm gonna go for a swim. Kinda just tastes like hot water. I'm not certain of the time. I think it's probably sometime between 8 and 9:15 a.m. I've been making a habit of getting up a little bit earlier these days because there's a lot of construction here, as you can see, and I hate being woken by the construction, so this is my solution. I haven't normally been going swimming for the most part in the morning because it's quite far away from where I'm staying, and I don't like to get up and then have to travel so far before I do my sort of wake up routine. So I started changing it a little bit because I just don't enjoy waking up and meditating and doing those things when there's so much noise. So now I get up and have a cup of tea, and then I'm walking down here, and it's really hot as well, so it's another motivation to come down here. It's about 2% more chill here. There's more cars, but there's no roadworks, so. Right now it's the beginning of June, and they lifted a lot of the restrictions around movement and travel and the likes. So I think shortly I'm going to leave this city. It's not really an ideal place for me because it's so urban. Like, there's no escape. The nearest place you can get to is like an hour away. It's not easy to get to that like forested area, and I feel a little bit stagnant. It's sad because and it's like hard too, because I've been here for like three and a half months now nearly, and I have some friends and connections, and it's a bummer on that level that I have to be separated from some people. But that's the nature of moving about and change. I mean, change is always in our lives. However, in the average life, a person can go many years or even a lifetime without any significant change if they maintain the same living situation and the same job and the same like company in terms of like people. And so there's a lot less change happening, and so a lot less of that sort of pain or the hardship that goes with the change. And change isn't, or the pain rather, isn't a bad thing at all. I'm not saying it is. It is challenging though, and it's every time you kind of get that feeling in like the pit of your stomach when you do leave someone or you leave a place and you enter more into uncertainty, as it often is, you kind of think to yourself like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, should I just go get a job and blah 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 and never have any change in my life so I avoid this sensation? But I mean, I'm only kidding myself if I think that's going to be a solution, because then I have another yearning to be free. And I mean, I've done that sort of progression of actions a few times already, and no path is particularly easy, because there's always learning and pain along the way, but I guess it's more about like choosing your battle. And I don't say battle in a violent or a way with any like bad connotation, but you know, we're here to learn, and you may as well do it in a way that favors you for the most part, rather than favoring somebody else or some other person's agenda. Anywho, I'm getting closer to the beach now, and I'll meet you there, I suppose. Okay, we've arrived to the city beach. It could be worse. So I'm gonna get ready to get in. Normally I don't like wearing underwear in the water because it doesn't really make much sense for me to get them wet, but Turkish people aren't too approving of public nudity, so I'll respect that for now. For me, it doesn't really count as swimming unless you get your head wet, and I always get a little bit nervous before I go swimming, regardless of the temperature, and the nerves kick in the most when I take my hair down, because that's when I know I'm about to get in, which is happening now. I don't really swim very much. I kind of just like to get in and get cold. And wake up my nervous system, get the circulation going. But in this water it's not so cold, so I kind of spend a bit more time than usual. In the Irish Sea, you get in and you get out. But the water here is probably like 25 degrees or something, and the sun, well, the temperature outside is probably like somewhere between 25 and 30 right now, I'm not too sure, so it's quite pleasant. So that was nice. I dried off by the sun and just chilled there for a little bit. Now I'm gonna go and get coffee. For whatever reason, espresso, which is my preferred way to drink coffee, costs the same, like one espresso costs the same as 5 kilograms of potatoes, and it's difficult to justify spending that much money. Well, I mean, it's difficult to justify spending that much money on something like coffee because it's not really important. However, I enjoy coffee, and I'm gonna bring my journal and maybe write some things down, and that whole experience is worth 5 kilograms of potatoes to me. So the coffee shop up here is called The Chosen. They're so funny here. Nobody speaks English, but they all have these like English names for their trendy restaurants and cafes. Here we go. So I just got finished in there and I did some journaling. Then after that I was doing a little bit of sort of research into my own psyche, and I've noticed that I get triggered or I feel uncomfortable a lot of the time when I see sort of like businessmen type figures, or people that talk about like productivity hacks and life hacks and all these kinds of things. And the fact that I get triggered by it points to the fact that there's an unintegrated aspect of myself that I see within them. And so I close my eyes and I ask myself to see that part of myself that I'm seeing in the other people that I'm projecting onto them. And I get this picture of a guy in a forest, secluded in a forest, and he's in like an office in the forest, and he's like working away on his computer, and there's nobody around him, and he's just sit there and he's working. He doesn't want any contact or any communication with anybody. The nerd that follows all the rules, I guess, is how I would describe him. And then on the other side we have another version of this guy, but he's the opposite polarity. So he's like this anarchist dude who's like burning down all of the buildings, and he's like screaming like fuck the man, and he pretty much hates this other guy that's in the forest. But the tricky thing is that these are both aspects of me, and they're both within me. It's not just me specifically, I mean it's everybody in the world. We all have these polarities within us, but to the degree that they're integrated depends on the individual and their life experiences up until that point. So while I was in the cafe, I was just bringing the two of them together and getting them to converse and come up to some sort of compromise where they don't both go against one another, because one guy has a completely different agenda to the other, and that means that within me there's this split, this fragmentation, and it's hard for me to live a conscious and intentional life if I haven't aware of both of these aspects. So that's what I was doing in there. It's just a nutshell really of the process, but that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, like a lot of my practices, kind of learning not only about other people in the world and different things, but learning about my own inner being and my own psyche. I think the takeaway from this is that you're always presented opportunities to learn in this life, and the learning never really stops. Like there's no worry in trying to get to a point where you have learned everything and then you can start living your life. It's like living your life is learning, and learning is living your life. And when you stop learning, it's when you're dead, basically, which is encouraging because it helps you know that when you feel lost or when you feel like you don't know the answers, that's okay, that it's part of the process. And if you knew all the answers, then you wouldn't really have anything to be keeping you here. I'm gonna go home now and edit this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you do, you can subscribe and see more things like this. Also, I set up a Patreon page, which is a platform where you can support me financially, and also I share a lot of extra stuff there that you don't get anywhere else. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'm gonna put the link in the description below. So until next time, I hope you have a great day and be well. See you.